Star Wars saga, George Lucas has made the most of the possibilities offered by movie visual effects. Screenwriter, director, and executive producer of his own films, Lucas owes this success in part to top-notch technicians, concept artists, animators, and 3D imaging specialists, but also to makeup artists, stunt performers, and costume designers. He and producer Rick McCallum brought them together and utilized their efforts and experience in the service of his six-part story. The making of this saga, covering a period of about 30 years, has taken advantage of the visual effects revolution brought by digital technology, but has also greatly contributed to it. The visual effects department, known as Industrial Light and Magic, was created in 1975 by George Lucas for the first Star Wars film. It quickly became the leading visual effects company in the world. Even as early as 1975, it was apparent to the visual effects team that a written script was insufficient for satisfactory pre-production of such visually ambitious films. The first stage of each film throughout the saga therefore came to include the realization of visual concepts, preliminary drawings of characters, sets, and backgrounds. This conceptual period is essential. Other concept drawings allow us to visualize the characters' movements and the scene dynamics. The next stage was to shoot these preliminary sequences just like real films. For the prequel trilogy, these pre-visualization techniques became more and more sophisticated, becoming what's known today as videomatics and animatics. It all began with the first movie of the saga in 1977 and continued throughout the saga. To shoot the complex visual effects envisioned by George Lucas, the effects team started by building their own motion-controlled camera, called the Dixtraflex, allowing very precise movements in any direction. This system enabled them, for example, to superimpose independently filmed shots of the models and the firing laser cannons. One of the basic visual effects of movies, even now, is the visual effects composite. By shooting in front of a blue background, it's possible to replace it with a completely different image. The operation can be repeated as many times as necessary. The various backgrounds are filmed separately, then assembled with the foreground shot. This blue screen technique was used extensively in the prequel trilogy as the basis for many visual effects. A blue or green background on the set indicates that part of the image will be shot or created later. Any object can be painted blue if we want it to disappear from the image. In his quest for powerful visual effects in the first trilogy, George Lucas increased the number of subjective or point-of-view shots. The spectator finds himself with the illusion of being in the middle of the action and not just witnessing the scene. For certain scenes in Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, such as those with the four-legged Imperial walkers, the visual effects teams combined the movements of their camera with a technique as old as filmmaking itself, stop-motion animation. An operator slightly modifies the position of the object after each frame is created and photographed independently. At the rate of 24 images per second, it took several months during post-production in 1979 to shoot the famous battle sequence on the ice planet Hoth. Another surprise for those who saw the first movie of the saga in 1977 was the quality and the accuracy of the miniature models. Each one in the first trilogy was meticulously built, following plans as precise as if it were for a real machine. Specialists for the entire saga built models at a variety of scales, depending on the definition required for filming. They were built so they would harmonize with each other, as well as full-scale elements. Models could be entire buildings or landscapes that would have been impossible to produce otherwise. Today, although digital effects have modified the techniques of creating visual effects, miniatures are still used, as they are often less expensive than computer-generated images. Models and computer graphics are sometimes a means of filling out a set. For filming on this outdoor studio location of Theed Plaza in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, the buildings were only half constructed. Anything higher than the actors' heads was not built. A model shot or a computer-generated image will fill in the missing part to avoid having to build an entire set. George Lucas's visual universe required the creation of real characters unlike any the cinema had ever employed. He did not use droids as simple background extras, but gave them real roles. From the beginning, it was planned that both droid stars would be operated from inside by actors, allowing a high quality of performance and interaction with the other actors. Certain movements were radio controlled. The Star Wars saga is populated with strange creatures. Each of them required the skills of various craftspeople, such as animatronic mask designers, radio control specialists, costume designers, or puppeteers. Episode 5 of the saga rests largely on the shoulders of a mere puppet, less than 3 feet high, who would later be revealed to be a key figure. Yoda was created by one of the great designers of puppets, Stuart Freeborn, who gave him, in part, his own features. At the time of its creation, it was the most complex puppet ever built. On the set, several persons are required to operate it. The well-known puppeteering specialist Frank Oz controls his walk and operates Yoda's mouth while also voicing his text. To this day, he continues to dub the Jedi Master.
Nothing more will I teach you today. Clear your mind, Christian.
In one of the sound studios used for Episode 1, sets were built in ways that accommodated the puppet's multiple operators. In 2000, during the shooting of Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, it seemed to George Lucas that it would be necessary to give the Jedi Master the possibility of much more varied movements. A team led by animation director Rob Coleman was formed to create Yoda entirely in computer-generated images. CG images are composed of simple geometrical figures that connect points. Over this network of points, lines of surface is laid down, giving the illusion of volume. The surface can be modified by moving the points. To realize an absolutely lifelike Yoda, the team screened previous episodes image by image. Several animators are responsible for the puppet's movement. Head, lips, arms, and clothes. All these aspects are handled separately. The possibility of creating